Well, if you guys know where I'm at, this is the old VFW ball field. Are we getting dizzy or is it just me? But when I was very young, my father started dating a Saxton lady, and he was kind to his son because he would wake up, and my dad worked crazy early. He worked at Martinsburg Milling Company in Martinsburg, of course. And he would get to work usually at 5 a.m., which meant he had to wake up super early, like 3 o'clock, drive me to Saxton, and he would drop me off at his girlfriend's place. But I wouldn't linger long. I pretty much had a tackle box in hand, and I would run down here to these pilings right here. And I would spend the majority of the day right here fishing. And then whenever you get home from work, he would come over and pick me up, and spent a lot of summer days just like that. That was my introduction to Raystown Lake. And it started here at what I came to know as Sugar Camp. So we've got some good news and some bad news on this dock update today. And I am going to do a dock update. I'm going to run up to James Creek. It's going to be a one stop. And there's a reason for just the single stop today. I'll cover that as I do the dock update. But here we are at Sugar Camp, and the water is actually really clear. I'm regretting that I don't have my fishing rod with me because I wouldn't mind casting a few times. But honestly, I was just running to Dollar General and getting some propane and stuff. I didn't know that I was going to actually stop here and do the dock update, but you know, ideas, they just flood you in. You got to do it. But the water here is real clear, super cold, and I don't think it's going to be much different down at Raystown. We got super cold waters. It's going to change the fishery. We're in a hard winter pattern right now, so you're going to go deeper. You're going to go slower in most cases, but never give up the jerk bait, because you can always work that jerk bait even through the winter. And you guys who are catching them big bass know what I'm talking about. Just keep it slower on the pause. What I mean, so when you're jerking it, let it pause for a longer period of time, and usually that's whenever the fish is going to hit it. So across the way, that's what I would call Sugar Camp. So this side is the VFW ballpark, but over on the other side is where I would go. There's some roads over there. You can drive back and you can get over there with the old coke mines and stuff back there. It's kind of neat if you can get back in there and just hike with the kids. It's a lot of fun. It's just an interesting spot here at our favorite place here along. This is the Raystown branch of the Juniata. So we're way upstream, further upstream than the power plant. This is essentially as far as you could possibly go on a John boat. And I don't even know if you'd get this far. Some of the rapids, you probably bottom out. So unless you've got a rock-proof boat, something that you can take through 2 inches of water, you're gonna have a tough time getting to this location. But this is my first experience with a muskie that I ever had. I had, just on the other side of these pilings, there's some rocks over there, and I was standing on the rock whenever a big muskie came by, and I don't think I even knew what it was. It was just a massive fish, you know? And I was fishing with crawfish. I remember I kicked the stream and got some crayfish, and that's what I was using for bait. So I flipped that thing out there, and I had like a spinning rod with like 8-pound test. I had no idea what I was doing. I remember holding my rod like I didn't want to get bit because it was such a big fish. And then a second muskie swam along with it. That's the end of the story though. I didn't hook into it, didn't catch it. It wouldn't have mattered. I would not have landed that fish. But that was my first muskie encounter right there, and they were massive. Just, you know, I was a kid, but they were massive. Just another bank angling location that meant a lot to me growing up, and it's certainly a good spot you can come down to and fish. And you can see it's very accessible. Even if you have limited mobility, you could come down here and fish this bank. And especially whenever the water gets a little bit more swelled, when there's a little bit deeper waters, you have a chance to catch some really fun stuff. Well, I guess that's enough for my little walk back memory lane. Snow's starting to come down, and we're gonna have a couple warm days ahead, a couple cool days ahead. But let's go ahead and get on with this dock update, and we'll talk about it. As I'm pulling into James Creek here, I just wanted to talk about a little bit about the weather. We're going to have a little bit of wind today. A little bit of wind. We're going to have like 20 to 30 mile per hour winds today. So the wind is kind of high intensity, and it's not a great day to be out. I thought about coming out anyway, but it looks like on Tuesday and Wednesday this week we're going to get a nice little warm up. And there's a gentleman up here. I'm just going to give him some time so you can check it out too. It's funny, the dock update sprung because I noticed this about the community, is guys will come up and they'll just drive up to the dock and have a look, and people are just curious about what's going on at the lake. I'll wave to them, say hi. But so that's where these whole dock updates came from. It's because I saw so many guys who were just pulling up to the dock and spending a little time looking at it, and I knew that was something that people were curious. But not everybody can drive up here. Not everybody has access to the lake. They live 45 minutes to an hour and a half away. So to just drop by and look, it just seems like that's way too much work for just a quick stop. Spend 2 hours on the road just so they can look at the water for 10 or 15 minutes. Guys do that. I've done it before, but it was never, it just felt like it was a lot of work for a little payoff. So, thus, the dock update was born, and I'm glad to have this, and hopefully you guys appreciate it. Let me know if you do. There's a little bit of sheet ice still back in the deepest, coldest coves, so the coves that don't get hit with sunlight and such. So I drove across Coffee Run, and the ice sheet back through there, it's real thin, and it's about 50% open. 50% still has a sheet of ice on it, but I'm talking about real thin ice on it. Nothing you can walk on. And then, of course, about 50% of it is just open water. So it's melting. It's going to continue to retreat. So what I'm saying is there might still be some fringe ice around the lake, but for the most part, by Wednesday, I think it's 100% open. You might see a little bit, but I don't think it's going to keep you from fishing. But I'm here at James Creek because I'm going to recommend that everybody just use James Creek. That's two reasons. One, I know there's no ice here because you can see, and I'll show you in just a minute. But number two, the lake is really low right now because we haven't had any precipitation to speak of. A little bit of sprinkling here in the last two days, but nothing that's going to add some water to this lake. So the levels are pretty low right now. The docks are a little difficult to use, so I'm going to recommend that everybody use the James Creek dock, and you'll see that it's in pretty good shape. Well, I guess with all that said, let's go check it out. James Creek still serviceable. The dock is incredibly low over there, so there's a little bit of a step down there on the end. Just be careful navigating all that, but really there's nothing to speak of here as far as serviceability. You can use this dock, you can get into the water here, it's no issue at all. James Creek continues to be the ongoing best dock to use during the winter. For the most part, it stays open the longest. Now, I think you could go over and use H as well, which is just around the corner. But again, I think the levels of the water going down are going to get issues whenever you're putting your boat in right at the ramp. So, James Creek, bring your boat and put out at James Creek. Winds today are going to be high though. We're going to have like 10, 20 mile per hour winds. It's kind of cutting through my simple hoodie that I have on, and it's probably only about 40 degrees. So I'm not dressed appropriate to go out on the water. I just hop in and out of the truck for this, so it's no big deal. But if you come out, dress appropriately for the lake. So even on Wednesday, when we're going to have a little bit of a warm up, it's going to be cold enough that you're going to want to dress accordingly. And of course, the water is very cold, guys. So life vests on 100% this year. We don't need to hear any bad stories. I don't see any ice. As far as I can see with my naked eye, I see no ice at all. Just be careful with this ramp though, because it's just treacherous. It's kind of treacherous anyway. See all the zebra mussels on the pylons there, but it's still pretty good step down right here onto this. It's a good 2-foot step down, so just take your time getting on and off the dock itself. And I don't think that's going to improve at all over the next couple days. I'm pretty sure that what we have for water depth is not going to change over the next couple days. So take the good with the bad. Good news, we got a little warm up coming. So Tuesday and Wednesday is probably the day to shoot for to get out on the water. I might even make a phone call myself and ask somebody if they want to go fishing. But unfortunately, the bad news is I think this is it, guys. I think we're about to have the big freeze. Every year at Raystown Lake, here in Pennsylvania anyway, we end up with what I would call is the ice fishing flash. So it's a very short window to be able to go ice fishing right here at Raystown Lake. Very short, even like in central Pennsylvania. Usually the ice fishermen, they're traveling to be able to go ice fishing. So I think we're about to have that flash. So if you guys are thinking about going ice fishing, get your gear together. I think you're about to have it. When? I think it's another like 1 week to 2 weeks out before that actually starts. There's certainly people that are going to tell me that there's 4 inches of ice somewhere, and God bless them. So I'm sure there's plenty of folks who are going to want to get out there on the ice, and I'm going to give you my blessing, tip of the hat, but I don't think I'm going to make it out there. If I do, it'll just be one day or something. I'll just find somebody and just kind of tag along. Ice fishing isn't necessarily my thing. I sharpen my hooks and do business stuff during the winter months. Get ready for chartering. That being said, if you are an ice fisherman, you're about to have your flash season. I know it's really short right here at Raystown Lake, but I think it's coming up. After this week, you're going to see it toward the end of the week, like toward the weekend, you're going to see the temperature's going to plummet. And I think they're going to stay down, and the ice is going to come on really hard, like through February. We're going to certainly have, that's going to be your ice fishing season. Projected anyway. So you know how weather can be. It can change, but right now what we're looking at is we have Tuesday and Wednesday that are going to look really nice. You guys can get out and fish, and then I think it's just going to kind of go downhill from there. And maybe that's a positive thing. So I shouldn't say downhill. Ice conditions are going to improve starting the end of next week, or this week rather, ahead of us. So as this week goes on, it's going to get we're going to get a little warm up, and then it's going to get very cold, and the ice conditions are going to improve over the next like 2 weeks and such. Hopefully you guys understand what that means. If you are looking for ice, it's coming, but not until after we have this Tuesday, Wednesday little warm up period. And hopefully you can get your boat onto the water before it gets hard, because after that it's very difficult to run your boat down the lake whenever it's ice. You can do it. You can do it. There's things, but but hopefully you guys get out on the water. If you do, you put in here at James Creek, and if you fish around the area, what I'm going to suggest to you guys, I'm going to tell you to do something simple. I know not everybody uses live bait, but I'm going to tell you, in the winter, if you can do this, you can even do like a hybrid trip. Get some real small shiners or fatheads and do like a drop shot rig or a Lindy rig setup. You can work on whatever you want your rigs to be, but what I'm saying is use a small hook, smaller bait, and go find some trees that are just out there. Just drive along until you find a tree in relative water, relatively deep water. I want to say about around 30 foot of water. If you can find a tree out there, there's certainly something hanging on those trees, and if you can just park on it, hopefully you have spot lock. If not, you can back troll, or you can just drop a hard anchor. But stay close to that tree and just kind of work in until you're right there with it. And then just sit on them. Drop some live baits down to them and just catch a few fish there while you're there. You're going to catch all the fish that Raystown has to offer. Right here around James Creek, they're still holding here. They're just a little deeper. So this is a deep water fishery. You might have to learn some new techniques if you're not familiar with that. But Simply put, find yourself a standing tree or some kind of structure down there, and they're probably going to be holding onto it. But you're going to want to go for a little deeper. If you go into the shallows, you're going to find less and less. There's still resident fish in there, but the majority of the fish that you're going to want to try to find and target, they're going to be a little bit deeper. That's just a winter pattern. It's something that most fish do every winter. I hope that helps, guys. That's your dock update. My name's Randall. Check the sub, and I will catch you guys on the live stream Monday nights at 8 p.m. Hope to see you there. Much love and much respect.